All right, welcome everyone to our Google Plus Hangout finale event. We have a special guest on with us today, President Lalovic of FILA. I'll let Gary Abbott take it over from here. He's our Director of Communications at USA Wrestling, and he's going to moderate this conversation for us today. So I'm going to let him take it over from here. Gary, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to thank President Lalovic for joining us. You're in Buenos Aires today, 10 days before the vote. Why are you there now, and what kind of things are you and the team going to be doing in preparation for your presentation?
Good evening, everybody. Gary, I'm here for rehearsals and our preparations for the presentation. We have 10 days more to check every detail and to prepare all the team for the presentation, the 8th of September.
So what's the mood of the team? Are you guys excited about the chance to tell the story again to the IOC? You'll have the whole IOC General Assembly this time.
Yes. We are in a specific mood. I must say we are a little bit nervous too. You know, it's about the future of our sport, so it's not easy, and we have all the burden on our back in this moment. But I think we are ready, and we'll be ready for sure. The story we will tell is a little bit different than the one we told in St. Petersburg, because we spoke in St. Petersburg to the executive committee, 15 people. Tomorrow, the 8th of September, it will be more than 100. And also, we have to prepare to all the questions we can get by them.
So you're going to be working with the same team that you had in St. Petersburg. Tell us why this group of wrestling leaders are the right people to tell our story and to answer the questions the IOC has.
Because they come from different... First of all, in St. Petersburg, this was a winning team. A coach never changed a winning team. So, these people, they come from different parts of the world, and they have different stories. And these stories are interesting. And we will tell them those stories. And we strongly believe that we will succeed with these people and these stories.
I'd like to ask T.R. Foley, Tim, to do the next question. We have a few people here that have been very active with the Keep Olympic movement, and Tim is one of them. Tim, do you have a question for President Lalovic?
Absolutely. How you doing, Prez? First question is, I kind of want to know how we were going to move forward on the modernization and popularization of wrestling past the decision. I think that's something that everyone's focused on. If there's a good result, what are the things that are going to occur? You've sort of outlined briefly in the media recently. What are some of the things you want to do, you know, point by point? What are some of the areas you want to attack?
We did a lot for the last 6 months, but of course it's not enough. We, not depending on the result of this vote, we are focused to modernize fully our organization and our sport. And we are preparing a world wrestling plan. This is a global plan for wrestling and the popularization of our sport, the organization of our federation, as well as the national federations. We changed the rules. You witnessed the new wrestling. I can easily tell that because the approach of the wrestlers is completely different. They became aggressive, and the sport became spectacular. I hope that you agree with me. You witnessed the last two championships for juniors, world championships for juniors and cadet. We modernized also in the way that we have more gender balance in governance as well than in competition. You very well know that at the beginning of May in Moscow, the executive committee adopted our proposal by unanimity to compete in Rio already with 6 women categories and with 6 Greco and 6 freestyle. That means 1 category per style less for men and 2 more for women. We decided on our Congress to continue without MMA and grappling because the IOC doesn't takes those 2 disciplines as potential candidates for the games, and for us it's very difficult to govern them together with Olympic wrestling. Of course, we keep our traditional wrestling and pancration, which is a type of a traditional wrestling and historic wrestling. We made our referee commission absolutely independent of the governance. We don't have any more board members in that commission. Before, a few months ago, we had 4 of them. So, we've done a lot in 6 months. Of course, it should have been done much before. But luckily, the IOC gave us a second chance to compete. That's all we wanted. We are wrestlers. Isn't it, Tim?
Absolutely. Yep.
And we don't have knockdowns. We follow the mat, get up, and we fight.
Richard Immel, would you like to ask President Lalovic a question, please?
Yeah. You sort of touched on the changes to 6 weight classes apiece, mentioning the new rules and everything. I was wondering if you could talk about FILA's process and going about those changes, what the reasonings were behind going to 666. Was it simply an IOC issue, or for the further evolution of wrestling?
By presenting our candidacy for 2020 games in accordance with the IOC, we decided to compete with 666 categories. And then just after St. Petersburg and during the St. Petersburg voting, we were thinking, all of us, about why not start this immediately in Rio? What do we have to wait? And we made a decision within the board. We voted with big majority, and then we proposed to the IOC to compete that way already in Rio. Of course, they accepted immediately by unanimity in Moscow, as I said before. And I think we did a step forward of wrestling. We will concentrate more the quality in men's wrestling, and as the women's wrestling is developing very fast, we gave them more opportunity to compete.
Thank you.
President Lalovic, what kind of response have you gotten around the world as you've traveled so many places? Are you getting a lot of support for your efforts and FILA's efforts to help get wrestling back in the Olympic Games? Talk about the response you've had in all the different places you've gone.
It's amazing how a crisis can unite people. I got support everywhere I moved, every place on earth. The only area I didn't visit was Australia for these 6 months. And it was really amazing how everybody was encouraging us to fight for the place we think we deserve. All those changes were accepted with any big problems, these are the major changes for one sport, But everybody is aware of the fact that we have to do something to be more acceptable by the IOC, to be more watchable, our sport more understandable, and better presented to the spectatorship. I spoke with presidents of the states, prime ministers, ordinary people, spectators in halls, and they were all very surprised how that happened to wrestling. But on the other side, we have to be honest and look in ourselves first. We succeeded to find out why that happened after our bureau meeting in Phuket mid-February, just after the decision of the IOC Executive Committee. But we also succeeded to find the strength to change. And that strength had to be found within the organization and the wrestlers. We found it, we changed, and now we are ready to compete, supported by all those people. Now, chief of states are concerned because wrestling is developed in many, many countries. If you take an example like Russia, who takes almost 30% of medals from the Olympics in wrestling, if Azerbaijan, who gets more than 50%, or Iran, almost all. On the other side, you have countries like Greece, where wrestling is a part of culture, and wrestling is part of culture in many countries. I spoke with the Bulgarian president. He told me that they have historical traces of wrestling for 2,000 years on the soil of Bulgaria. Wrestling is very, very popular in Scandinavian countries. And I was really happy to travel and to hear all this. And that gave me the strength that I hope I spread to all the wrestling community to fight for our cause.
Tim, do you have a next question for President Lalovic, please?
I do. A follow-up to that one is, do you think, so you mentioned how it's very popular in Scandinavian countries. This week, UBS, United Bank of Switzerland, or something of that sort, is putting on a large traditional wrestling festival in a small town in Switzerland. They expect 300,000 people, and they're sort of footing the bill and creating sponsorships from that. After this, assuming a good result here in Buenos Aires, do you expect that the next journey for FILA will be in creating a marketing platform and making good decisions as far as who to align with and sponsorships, sort of like you've seen in other maybe Olympic committees around the world, like the United States has strategic partnerships and those types of sponsorships, or is that something that you as a you're a good businessman, is that something you foresee for FILA as the next step?
Of course, absolutely. This is the next step for us just after these elections in Buenos Aires. We will have a World Championship in Budapest, and already we have many TV channels interested to cover the event, and I think that will be a record about coverage of it. But of course, in the meantime, we succeeded to have a new product. The new product is the new wrestling under the new rules. The problem is that before we didn't have, let's say, in commercial terms, that we didn't have the product to sell. We have it now. Something which is interesting and can be sold in a way to develop the sport further with what we can get from it, from those sponsorship contracts and so on. I had a meeting 3 days ago in Rio de Janeiro with a Chinese sport equipment production company, and they also produce wrestling mats. They told me they're ready to help FILA no matter about the result of the voting here in Buenos Aires by a huge number of mats every year. They're interested in wrestling. And I said, maybe you will wait, you want to wait the result of the vote. They said, no. We saw this new wrestling. We like it. We want to help. And to continue that job, we need specialists for that. Before, in FILA, it was done on an amateur basis. We believe that in the future, we'll do it very professional.
Richard Immel?
Sir, I just kind of wanted to piggyback off Gary's question a little bit. He sort of touched on the global unity since this decision that we've seen. What does it say about a sport like wrestling that it can cross these political barriers and see a country like Iran come wrestle in the United States? You know, what does that say about our sport?
That shows the strength of our sport and the unity of the wrestlers all over the world. People wrestle from Patagonia to Kamchatka and from New Zealand to Alaska. And everybody is aware of it, but we don't think about it every day. You need a crisis like this to start to think about it. And then we found out that every village in Africa or in mountains in Macedonia, they have their wrestling, a traditional wrestling. Olympic wrestling is the result, and let's say the compilation of all those wrestlings. That's what we have. But we have to improve it in accordance to the modern times requirements. And that's what we are doing now.
President Lalovic, are you done, sir?
And Turkey, you mentioned a little city in Switzerland with 300,000 spectators for traditional Swiss belt wrestling. That's fantastic. But we have also, for African wrestling in Dakar, sometimes 50,000 spectators for one wrestling match. But in the past, we didn't use this enough. United, we are a huge sport. We are a very strong sport. We are an original sport.
President Lalovic, talk about the experience of having wrestling on the grounds of the ancient Olympia, where the Olympics were founded, and the ability to bring both men and women to those historic places in Greece to show that modern wrestling has a link to the past.
We have, I might say, modernized also the ancient Olympia, because we made, for the first time, wrestle ladies in Olympia. You know, in ancient Olympia, the entrance for women was forbidden.
You guys still there?
Yeah, I believe we are. I think we've lost at least audio on President Lalovic.
I can't see his video either.
There he's going again.
We lost you there for a second.
Is it okay?
It is okay now. So, ancient Olympia again. We lost a bit of that conversation. You were talking about women being able to compete there and how special that was.
Thanks to the Greek government, thanks to the Greek Wrestling Federation, and we succeeded to organize this tournament there. First time women have competed in Olympia. You know from history that Olympia was absolutely forbidden for women, and in the ancient times they were killing them while trying to enter. Today is different. Today they have competed there, and it's a huge thing. Like you said before, the match between Iran and USA and Russia on the Times Square, 15th of May this year, wrestling has some kind of power all around the world. Definitely, we have some kind of specific power to unite people. And that makes me really happy, because it's not only the sport, it's friendship, and it's probably one day the promotion of peace by wrestling.
Tim Foley?
Yeah, I mean, really following up on the traditional aspect, you mentioned some different styles in Africa, and one of the things that I think we all saw is that they're also just very simplified rules. They're takedown only, kind of simple to follow. Do you ever see Fila maybe taking that traditional African style and bringing it into the fold, because it is so successful, based a lot on its simplicity and what surrounds it, the dance, the culture. But do you ever see Fila bringing in a takedown only or a simpler form of wrestling in addition to what we currently have?
Last 6 months, we've done a big job with changing rules, but this job is never finished. We have to learn from everybody's experience, and our technical commission, who will be in charge for that, will never stop to work. We learned from this crisis that we have to modernize our sport every day, and we will use all the experience, the best experience we can get all over the world, from Africa, from Amazonia, from Japan, or Caucasus, always in order to make our sport popular. This is our goal.
President Lalovic, you say you feel very confident about wrestling's chances on the 8th of September. Do you feel we are a much better sport now, in spite of the challenges and regardless of what the vote is? And how much better can wrestling get after we have been through this crisis?
First of all, I would like to say I'm optimist. It's difficult to say confident, but I'm very optimistic. The success would certainly help us to have more financial security for the future, but also, which is more important, is that the main goal of all our athletes are the Olympics. The Olympics is the major achievement for any wrestler. And that's why we have to be there. It may happen that we don't succeed in 10 days, but we'll never stop fighting. We continue the 9th of September to fight, or to become a core sport if we succeed, or to become a member of the Olympic family if we don't succeed. We don't have a choice. We are here to fight, and we will fight. We continue the 9th of September by improving our federation, by improving our sport. And this is a process that can never stop.
Anyone else have a final question at this point? Tim or Richard? On behalf of Kapow, on behalf of Fila, and the entire wrestling world, we'd like to thank President Lalovic for his leadership, and we want to wish him very good luck. And hopefully on the September 8th, everyone around the world in wrestling can celebrate a great day for our sport. Thank you so much, President Lalovic, and we appreciate your time here on our call.
Thank you, guys. And I believe that we'll all be happy in 10 days.
Thanks, man.
And after that, busy.
We'll always be busy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.